Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about making self-compassion your superpower in midlife. Today, you're going to be meeting Dr. Ellen Albertson, who's known as the Midlife Whisperer. She's a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's a psychologist, registered dietitian, board-certified health and wellness coach, and mindful self-compassion teacher who empowers midlife women to reclaim their energy, confidence, and purpose. Welcome to the show, Ellen. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Suzy. It's awesome to be here.
I was very excited to meet you. As I was reading through your application, I noticed we had so much in common. So it's just so fun to meet people from different parts of the world doing work that they're passionate about. I know we're going to have a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business, what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way to some extent and are challenging for you in your life as well as a business owner. So let's kick things off with my favorite question: how old you are, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and what it is that you do in the world. Take it away.
So I am a proud 62, and I have been an entrepreneur for 50 years. I actually started my first entrepreneurial business when I was 12. I had a candle making business, which was a little sticky. Imagine trying to get the capital to buy more wax and more molds when you've just dumped a whole bunch of wax on your mom's linoleum floor. And she has to drive you to the store to buy more supplies. So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. After that, I went to Wharton. I went to business school and worked in corporate, but kind of had an entrepreneurial role as a corporate buyer. And then fast forward, my ex-husband and I were the cooking couple in the 90s, if you're old enough to remember when the TV Food Network happened and celebrity chefs. So we wrote books. We had a radio show before there was podcasts. We did a lot of television work. It was kind of like being a influencer before that was actually a thing. But it was very much about trying to figure out how do you take what you're passionate about and utilize that to really help people transform their lives. And was really all about healthy eating, connecting with your partner, having fun in the kitchen, romance. And so fast forward now, am the Midlife Whisperer, and I really work with women, as do you, Suzy, at this very interesting time of life when so much is happening inside and out, right? We're getting all of these hormonal changes, which are transforming our brains. And at the same time, we're often caught in the sandwich generation where we've got aging kids and aging parents and trying to figure things out for ourselves. And it's interesting, even before I was in midlife myself, I have always worked with midlife women. I was also a personal fitness trainer. I've been a dietitian for 30 years, and everybody coming to me, they were always midlife women because in terms of health, that's when things really start to surface in terms of transforming what's going on in your life. There's a lot going on. So I just am fascinated by this time period. I don't think it's a crisis. It's really a catalyst to not be capped in what you do, but the sky's the limit in terms of creating a life you love.
So true. Ellen, I can't believe you said that you also started your entrepreneurial journey when you were 12. Me too, 12. I knew we had a lot in common. That was a surprise. For me, it was calligraphy, and I was doing envelopes for wedding invitations and all kinds of stuff at 12.
So cool.
But not my family. I did not come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So interesting that you were ahead of the curve doing work with your husband, which is always, I don't know how anybody can do that ever in any way, shape, or form, but with radio. And being in that space of trying to use health information to help people with media. So interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The marriage didn't last, though.
But I just don't know how anybody can work with their husband. I look at my husband's set of skills, and then I look at my set of skills, and they are so not the same, which would look good on paper, but I would drive him crazy, and he would absolutely drive me crazy in that context.
Yeah, it can definitely create a lot of tension in the relationship. And I think that's what happened to us to a large extent. But I am in another relationship. So if you're listening and you're out there, I think we've been hearing a lot about this divorce, right? A lot of women going through menopause, having a lot of changes and realizing that they want something different in their lives, both career-wise, health-wise, relationship-wise, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell me a little bit about these books. You've also authored 5 books. What are they?
Well, the first book was called Hawking God. And then I wrote 3 books with my ex-husband as the cooking couple. The first book was called Food is Foreplay, Recipes for Romance, Love, and Lust. And then my latest book is Rock Your Midlife, 7 Steps to Transform Yourself and Make Your Next Chapter Your Best Chapter. So I think that's the book I'm the most proud of. And I'm kind of working on a 6th, which is called Dragonflying, which is really all about transforming in midlife, but in a different way. We always hear about the butterfly, right? And like that butterfly metaphor, I felt like we needed something different at midlife. Like the butterfly makes this shroud and then it digests itself and it's got to break free from, the cocoon. And the dragonfly is so different. I don't know why we don't hear more about it, but it's a nymph for 2 years. It's like in the water, it's a fierce predator. And then one evening at the stroke of midnight, it climbs up a stalk of grass. It has a final molt and it becomes the dragonfly. And I'm like, I want to help women transform fast. I don't think we have to go through all of the struggle that the butterfly goes through. So I'm kind of all about helping women to transform in a new way.
So good. Sometimes it's amazing what keeps us stuck, and to be able to plow through that a little quicker would be blissful. I myself was stuck for 5 years. That's 260 weeks. And it was so frustrating and so painful. And this was before I knew anything. There weren't even podcasts then, or there maybe were, but they weren't popular. And I didn't know anything about coaching. So I was really, really stuck and grasping, and it was very painful. So anything we can do to help the ladies is always a good thing. So as you know, the big focus of this podcast is to talk about midlife challenges getting in the way of the way you run your business the way you want to. So the kind of crapola that pops up when we're this age and stage trying to have a professional business and trying to really put ourselves out there, earn a living, and make a difference. So tell me a little bit about the kind of stuff that comes up for you.
Oh boy. Well, even today, so I decided that I wanted one platform that did it all. So I've like bought all into Kajabi. In my work, I do individual coaching, I do group programs. And so I was sort of scaling up my business and I'm like, okay, I'll do Kajabi. And, the client management system, not working right. So I have a big launch that I'm doing in a couple of days and people aren't getting my email about the workshop that I'm doing. And so, I took a deep breath. I have like almost 100 people signed up for the workshop. I'm working with my team to try to do all of this. And then, I just realized this practice that I think we're going to get really into called self-compassion, where instead of pulling my hair out, getting in frustration and all upset, I was like, you know what, Ellen, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. I'm there for myself, lightening up, not taking it so seriously. So, being an entrepreneur is really tough. And I think for me, the challenge is in some ways, I have more drive, right? When you're at midlife, you realize there's less time in front of you than behind you. And I'm so passionate, I think about really 3 things. I want women first to practice self-compassion, to move from that self-critic, the people pleaser, the perfectionist into this sphere of self-love and self-compassion. I really want women at midlife to be authentic, to not try to be like anybody else, to be their authentic self. If you're an entrepreneur, like you are your brand, right? To really feel comfortable in your own shoes. And then the health and wellness piece, to do it from a place of self-love. So I'm really driven. I have, my mission and what I want to do and this whole dragonflying idea. But then the energy isn't quite there. Like I look back when I was the cooking couple in my 30s and 40s, boy, did we have a lot of energy. I could work
Yeah.
60 hours a week and I just don't want to work at that level anymore. I really can't do it. And I'm also a breast cancer survivor. And so I want to keep my stress under control. I really healed my workaholism. So it's kind of an interesting place. Like you're wiser, you're more driven, you're super passionate, you want to love your business and you really want to make a difference in the world, but you don't have quite the energy that you did in your 30s and 40s. So you get help. You don't take yourself quite as seriously. You practice self-compassion. And I think it really comes down to building a business that you love, that you say, and I know we have a mentor in common here. She's always like, TGIM, thank God it's Monday, where you're actually excited to get in front of the computer on Monday morning and just think, wow, I can make such a difference at this point in my life. And I can really be an example to what is possible at midlife. So I love what I do, but sometimes I wish I had a little bit more, energy and focus that I did in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah, it's true. And, on this podcast, I've talked to, oh man, probably close to 200 people now. And what you've mentioned are two of the most common things that get in the way of running the businesses the way we think we want to, right? So energy is such a big deal, and tech is such a big deal. Another thing about the tech is we make these careful decisions and then things change. Like just when we get a handle on things, something changes. One of the things that always pops up for me, not as much now because now I'm more comfortable solving it, but with tech is when I log on to record an episode and all of a sudden, without me doing anything, the settings have changed. Like, how did that happen? I didn't do anything. I didn't manifest that. They just changed. It's so frustrating. I used to sweat when that would happen. Like I used to shake and sweat with my own pressure for myself to get things done in a certain way and by a certain time. And I had to do a lot of work to calm that down because at our age, we want more fulfillment and we want more meaning, right? We're really looking for meaning. It's a huge motivator. So you can have meaning without the stress. It's just a little bit different, That's great though that you went after Kajabi, and I hope it works really well for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love about it, but there is those tech issues that just happen, and I just don't have the bandwidth to figure it out myself. So, that's where, you hire a team, you get your children to help you out, maybe your husband who's, a high-tech guy. But I think that's been a big piece for me of really understanding what's my zone of genius. And I think that's
Yeah.
a beautiful piece as you get to know yourself and love yourself. You're like, okay, this is what is the thing that I'm created and only I can do and I can share. And then there's the zone of excellence, things that I'm really good at. I know things like writing and talking about health, nutrition. Those are things I'm great at. But I think the genius zone is for me is the coaching and also just this inspiration of really helping midlife women to wake up and realize how rich and beautiful and powerful this time of life can be. So and then you kind of get out of that zone. I used to do everything, the things that were my zone of incompetence and even my zone of competence. So now I try to just stay mostly in my zone of genius and my zone of excellence and get support where I can.
It's so true. When I first meet women who are, wanting to make change and have reached out, sometimes I'm just not in shock, but it is always a surprise to realize how negative people can be about what's possible for them. They really don't see it. Like aging has really gotten in the way in terms of the way they think about what they can do. It's so much easier to think about what they can't do than what they can do at this age. And just to hear it over and over again. For me, I was really influenced by my childhood situation of losing parents at a very early age. So I grew up with my parents died when I was a kid. And my grandparents, I grew up watching them grieve losing adult children. And so that made a huge impression on me because they understood and I understood that not everybody has the gift to age, that it really is a privilege to age, right? So I saw that up close and personal. And then to meet people who are, just dissatisfied with the way they look and what's possible for them and that they aged out of this or aged out of that, all this negative talk about where they are at their age and stage. And they're not really thinking that they have the privilege to age. They may have a pillow, they may have a sticker, but do they really believe it? Aging is a gift? Not so much. So it's fascinating to me that we're all hyped up about this because we got the memo, we get it, we get really excited about helping women see it and live it. But it is just such a reminder of the need for self-compassion. So tell me more about how you weave that into your work.
Yeah, well, I found self-compassion, ironically, I was looking for something to help women with body image. So I'd always struggled with body image myself. I was a dancer and a personal fitness trainer and wanted this perfect body, thinking that when I have that perfect body, then I'll love myself. And now I work with women, it's like we start with the self-love and then everything falls in place. So I was fortunate enough to have my mentor when I was getting my PhD in psychology. She's like, well, you should do an intervention around body image, and you should center it on meditation. And I was fortunate enough to meet Kristen Neff, who is kind of the pioneer in this area of self-compassion. And so I did this research on body image and self-compassion. What my research showed is that practicing self-compassion, which essentially is treating yourself the way you would a good friend, reduces body shame, body dissatisfaction, self-worth based on appearance, and improves body appreciation. So nothing to do with changing your body, simply being kinder to yourself. So there's three elements with self-compassion. It's being kind to yourself rather than judgmental. So talking to yourself the way you would a good friend, being your own kind of self-compassionate coach, understanding common humanity. We all age, we all make mistakes. Everybody fails, so that you feel like, okay, when things aren't going my direction, this is normal. You don't feel like something wrong has happened. You can just accept that this is just life. This is the way it is. Just suffering, things going wrong is all part of it. And the third piece is mindfulness. When you notice, oh, gosh, I'm having a difficult day. I'm having trouble in my business, or maybe, I'm struggling with a relationship. What do I need right now? Maybe I just, like, for me, when everything was crashing with this launch I'm trying to do, I'm like, you know what? Just going to go outside and go walk my dog. I'm just going to take a 15-minute break, and like, this is what I need right now. And so you don't take everything. So it's not so heavy. You don't need to be a perfectionist. I think as entrepreneurs, we want everything to be perfect. And I know we're both 1-3 in human design. So it's like this wanting to know everything, but needing the 3 of experimenting. So needing to feel like I don't want to put anything out there until it's perfect, which is that 1 in human design. And then this 3 of I need to experiment. So self-compassion has been a game changer for me. I honestly have to say, at 62, I have never felt more beautiful. I look in the mirror. I really like what I see. I like the way that my body looks. I'm much more focused on how it functions and how it looks. I've let my hair go silver, which was a great choice for me. And I'm happy to be, alive and functioning. But it's hard, I think, as women entrepreneurs, like when we get on social media and we feel like, oh my God, should I use a filter? And should I have Botox? And all of these questions that we have about our visual identity. And I think that we need to hold it lightly, because it can really prevent us from showing up. And I think when we show up as our authentic selves, the age we are, not hiding it, being a proud 50, 60 something, 70 something, we give other women permission to do the same. And I totally resonate with what you said about losing your parents. I kind of have the opposite situation. My parents are still alive, thank God, 93 and 95, and they have their mental
Amazing.
faculties, and they are still killing it, making a difference in the world. And so that's what I see as my role model of just how incredible. For me, I'm hoping the next 30, 40 years can be. I want to be healthy at 100. That's my number one goal. And I'm here to share that there's so much that you can do. And that, that piece that you raised, Suzy, about how you feel about aging. How you feel about aging impacts how you age. If you feel it is all downhill, that's what's going to show up for you. We literally have, I'm a bit of a neuroscience nerd. We have a reticular activating system in our brain that's constantly scanning for what we take in. And if we believe it's all downhill, that it's all going to be like, wheelchairs and going to doctors, that's what shows up for us. When we feel like, okay, I am wiser. I am really that sage. I'm stepping into this leadership role to make a difference in the world. I'm so powerful. Well, that's what will show up. And self-compassion can really help, because it really helps you to embrace your true self, like to realize flaws and all. This is who I am. These are my strengths. These are my flaws. This is what I'm great at. When things go wrong, which is part of being an entrepreneur, when you're experimenting, you can give yourself a break. You don't beat yourself up. Like the other day I was on the highway and I took a wrong turn. I was driving around Boston visiting my son, and I was like going the wrong way on the Mass Pike. And I was like, oh no, I'm like going to be so late. And instead of
Uh-oh.
going into that beating myself up mode, hand on heart, take a deep breath. The most important thing is not getting in an accident, driving straight. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Driving is not my forte. I got there safe. I was 20 minutes late, but you start to learn how to be your own best friend. And I think if people leave with one bit of advice is treat yourself the way you would your best friend. It will totally transform your life.
That's so powerful. I was just thinking as you were saying that my sons really influenced a self-compassion decision that I made this past summer. And I was so glad they did. Like a lot of times they would see me working on a podcast episode, and sometimes that would creep into the weekend a little bit. And there are certain times that it doesn't bother me, like to do a little bit of work at the weekend if it's not prime time. Like it really doesn't bother me. The pressure's off and whatever. But they were very annoyed by this. They're in their 20s. Just, I don't know, they just didn't like that it was happening. And so in the summer, I told them I was thinking about putting this podcast show on hiatus for a couple of months. And they said, yes, what a great idea. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And they're like, of course you can do it. You're in charge. And a lot of times they're like, Mom, why are you rushing this deadline or that deadline? You're in charge. I'm like, yes, but I take it seriously. I'm professional. I want to keep to my commitment to myself. But they really did remind me that sometimes if the stress is too much, you are in charge and you can decide what you want to do. And it felt really weird, but I did put this show on hiatus for just 2 months. And it was an amazing decision. And nothing happened. The sky didn't fall. Like, so the numbers went down a little bit for downloads. That's it. 2 months. Who cares? It was nothing. And I was able to record some episodes in a pace that was slow and comfortable. And it was a very good thing. But sometimes, as you mentioned, it's very hard to be that best friend to yourself. It really can be. And so the more you become aware of it, the more you can do to help
What
yourself.
I have people do is if it's hard for you, there's two ways you can sort of flip it a little bit. You can say, okay, if I had a good friend who is going through this, so I'm having this struggle in my entrepreneurial journey, what would I say to her? And then do that for yourself. Or if I had a wise friend, what would she say to me? And one of the first things I do when I'm teaching self compassion is, imagine you've had a good friend who's had some kind of misfortune. Maybe they had a fender bender or a health crisis or a fight with somebody that they love or something going on in work. What do you say to them? And then think about what you say to yourself when you are having some kind of crisis, misfortune, fender bender, health issue. Compare the two. And I've done this probably hundreds of times in workshops. And people always are like, my God, I treat my friends so well. I like say,
Like a gap. It's like a huge Grand Canyon gap.
yeah, but we can make it closer. And, it's a practice, just like we go to the gym. And I think if you're at midlife, right, we all want to build that muscle mass up. You go to the self-compassion gym. There are formal practices you can do, such as meditations, and there are also informal practices where you can pause in the day and turn to yourself, put a hand on your heart, do some soothing touch, make a list of things that will really support you. And it changes over time. It didn't happen for me overnight. Kristen Neff required that I take her self-compassion course, and I went on to become a mindful self-compassion teacher. But I promise if you practice it every day and you set an intention to be a little nicer to yourself, it will change. But the thing that we have to realize is the self-critic is trying to protect us. The self-critic is usually the internalized voice of early caregivers that say, if I don't clean up my room, finish the food on my plate, and stay skinny, get into that college, do all those things, I won't be loved. And so it's kind of terrifying to think about love will be withdrawn from me if I don't follow this inner critical voice. And so we get to be adults and that voice is still there. But you shine a light on it and it goes away. And you can say, oh, okay, I do internal family systems. So I'll have my clients like, okay, imagine your self-critic. Usually she's like Ursula, it's this terrible voice. Give her another role to do. Tell her to go and go sit in the corner and watch my bank account, watch my social media. And then think about what does my self-compassionate self say, or write a self-compassionate letter to yourself. But it truly is a practice that is so transformative.
Love that. What do you think the most surprising thing is about being a midlife woman over 50, over 60, and being an entrepreneur? Has anything really surprised you?
How incredibly fun it is. It's so much fun. I am just having such a good time in my business and my life. I live in beautiful Vermont on an island where my husband grows all of our food, and then we winter in Costa Rica. I love my business. It lights me up so much to see my clients transforming, to see the impact that I'm having on the world. I had no idea like 60 could be this cool, right? It could
I
be like so
agree.
much fun and so cool. I mean, I think that what's so exciting right now is that we're changing the conversation. We're talking about menopause. We're talking about ageism. We're showing up. We're not hiding. We're really letting our voice, our powerful voice, be out there. And there's so many great midlife women who are really making a difference in the world. So I just never, I mean, to me, when I was a kid, like 60 seemed really old,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
it did.
feel so like, I feel like a kid again. I'm having more fun now than at any other time in my life. And
Oh
also
my gosh.
just more myself. Like I can just be my authentic self. Nobody can tell me I'm doing it wrong. The imposter syndrome has like left the building because the thing is, and that self-compassion teaches you that. And I also play a lot with human design. You realize that when you are yourself, nobody can tell you you're doing it wrong. And you start to realize, wow, this is what I'm good at. This is what I've been designed to do. You become your brand, and it's just incredibly powerful and fun.
Yes, I agree with you so much. I've never been so fulfilled and this creative and have more fun in my life either. And one thing that was really telling for me was the podcast. So when I first started doing this work, I felt like I needed to be a little bit more uh conservative's not the word, but not as silly, not quite as authentic as I really am. Like to keep it a little bit more formal, like the way I used to write for, write health information and stuff like that. You can't, or an academic paper or something like that. Being this in this space, you have a lot of liberty to write differently and show up differently. And I remember reading some iTunes reviews. I don't remember how long I'd been doing the podcast, but I'd been doing it for a little bit. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they love it when I'm silly. Oh my God, they love these stupid stories. Oh my God. Like I just couldn't believe it. And it gave me permission to let my freak flag fly just a little bit. And it really changed everything for me. I just relaxed into that authenticity that you're talking about. And, I'm not for everyone. And that's okay. That's totally okay.
Well, I think it's so much about as entrepreneurs when we get to be over 50, it's not about finding your niche. It's about being yourself, shining your light, and attracting people who like what you are sharing.
Yes. Another thing that you mentioned in your application in the notes I'm looking at is that you were very surprised that the growth in the fear edge never stopped. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, the thing is that your brain is designed to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to be fulfilled or like have a sense of purpose. It doesn't want you to step outside your comfort zone because when you do that, that's uncertainty. And uncertainty is safe. And as entrepreneurs, we're constantly coming up against our edge. We're constantly, doing new things, trying new things. And you have to be like, I'm finding like social media does not work the way it once did. I mean, when I came out with my book, Rock Your Midlife, 4 years ago, I was a client magnet during COVID. Like everybody was coming to me for health and wellness. Things are changing. The marketplace is so crowded right now. And so you have to try new things and you're gonna fail. So you are constantly stepping outside your comfort zone. And so as an entrepreneur, you have to really be okay seeing like reframing failure. If you're afraid of that next thing that you're doing and you're not quite sure what it is, well, then you're heading in the right direction. If you stay in the same lane, you can't do that. I know what your experience is, Suzy, but I know for me, I'm constantly doing new things. Like right now, I'm introducing human design into the coaching work that I'm doing because I'm passionate about it. I love it. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's amazing. And so I'm starting something new. And so there's a lot of people on social media who are like, wait a minute, you're like about nutrition and health and wellness and midlife. What is this new stuff? And of course, I'm going to lose some subscribers, some
Mhm.
followers. So, you're always, if you're going to be on this entrepreneurial journey, you're always going to be stepping outside your comfort zone and you're going to be facing your fear edge. But what is so cool is that, with these tools like self-compassion, like, okay, I'm going to be okay. It's not life or limb. It's not a saber-toothed tiger. Understanding this neuroscience of the fear bubbles up when I'm stepping outside my comfort zone. but I'm safe and it's going to be okay. And I'm actually doing a really cool workshop right now where I'm looking at the fear centers in the human design chart, which are these awareness centers in what's called the your emotional, your mind, and your spleen, kind of your primitive instinct. And we have gates, which are these lessons that we are hearing, gifts that we are here to actualize. And you can start to know, oh, wow, this is how fear shows up. Like for me, one of the big fears I've had for my whole life is stepping out of the spiritual closet. So I love woo. I always have, but I've hidden it for decades. More degrees. I have more degrees than a thermometer, right? But that was a big fear of mine. Look, my God, what happens if all of a sudden I tell people I like human design or astrology?
Yeah.
But you got to be yourself. I think that is the key to enjoying your business, attracting your tribe is, as you said, like you like to be a little silly. I like to be a little goofy too. I dance in my videos. I have a lot of different facets, but it's scary. But just reminding yourself, you're safe. You're not going to die if you try something new. That's how we learn. It's how we grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm leaning into creativity now. That's something I can no longer ignore. And I'm bringing more creativity into my business, into my personal life. And thank God. It took a long time for me to just embrace that. So how can people best get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is just Google the Midlife Whisperer. That's the Midlife Whisperer. You can go to themidlifewhisperer.com. I'm the Midlife Whisperer on Instagram. You can connect with me there if you're interested in working with me in terms of health and wellness. And I love to bring in some of that human design to help you to coach yourself, or if you're interested more in self-compassion, it's the Midlife Whisperer. And if you want to get my book, that's on Amazon. It's Rock Your Midlife. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yes, you are. That's amazing. Awesome, Ellen. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for taking the time from your day and sharing all of this. I really appreciate your personal transformation and the direction you're going and just how you're leaning in to your authentic self. I mean, I know that sounds so coachy, but it's true. For us to just relax into it, it's a big deal. So thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, that's all for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick, before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon.